Hey book besties, it's officially that time of the month where we need to pick out our TBR for next month. So I'm going to be using my TBR prompt jar to pick out my March TBR. I'll be using these prompts to pick out books both from my physical TBR here, but also from my Kindle TBR, because we need to make the most of Kindle Unlimited and just my Kindle library in general. And for 2025, I mixed up my TBR jar a little bit, and we now have different coloured prompts relating to different genres of books. So I can kind of choose how many fantasy books, romance books, etc. I have on my TBR each month. So green is fantasy, pink is romance, purple is fiction, and blue is thriller. Before we get into picking my March TBR, let's do a little overview of how I did on my February TBR. Not great, I'm not gonna lie. I ended up doing 8 prompts, so 8 books for my February TBR, and I have read 4 of them. Obviously February is a shorter month, and yeah, I just feel like I haven't had enough time to get through all of the books. I also had quite a few arcs that I needed to read this month, so yeah, we only had a 50% success rate on the February TBR, unfortunately, and there are some books that I'm very annoyed that I did not get to. I did manage to read Cleopatra and Frankenstein, which is the book that has been on my TBR for the longest, I think, at this point, so that was a win at least. But if you want to hear more about the books that I read in February, I'll be doing a February reading wrap up in the next week or so you can watch that video, so you can see all of the books that I read there. With that said, I think it's time to start picking for March. Now, because I failed so badly last month, I think I'm only going to pick 6 prompts this month because I really want to complete my TBR. I don't want to fail twice in a row, or at least not do as badly as I did before. So I think I'm gonna go with 6. I'm definitely not gonna do 8. I say these things and then I often end up picking more because sometimes it just depends a bit on the books that I pull out. So for my first pick, like I did last month, I'm not gonna choose a specific colour or a specific genre, I'm just gonna blindly pick. There are a lot more fantasy prompts in here than anything else because that is what I have the most of on my TBR, but yeah, we will blindly pick one. It is fantasy. Is that the right way around? A book with a similar vibe to one of your faves. Okay, and this is for a fantasy book. Obviously I could pick a book from a series that I'm reading, because obviously that's going to have similar vibes to other books in the series, but that feels a little bit like cheating, so I don't want to do that. I do have a book for this that is coming to mind that I'm thinking maybe I should choose. Okay, yeah, I think I'm going to go for the first book that came to mind when I saw this prompt, and this is one on Kindle, and it's also a book that was on my TBR for February and I didn't get to, but I really want to read this one, so you know what, I'm quite happy with this. So I'm going to choose Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Rorick, and the summary for this book anyway, maybe not the whole series, but for the first book, is very similar to Throne of Glass. I feel my main character is an assassin owned by an assassin lord. So very similar vibes to Throne of Glass, at least for the start of the book. Okay, so that is our first book picked out. Let's pick again. I think maybe, should I do a romance? I think so. A new release. Oh, that is literally perfect, especially for romance. Okay, so I have 2 different options really for this. I have either Beg, Borrow or Steal by Sarah Adams and Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Honestly, both of these are great options and I would love to read both of these in March. I think though I'm gonna go for Beg, Borrow or Steal. This is the 3rd book in the When in Rome series. When in Rome, the first book in the series, is one of my favourite romances. I think I gave it 5 stars. I'm pretty sure I did, like, it was perfect to me. The second book, Practice Makes Perfect, was a little bit of a miss for me. I didn't love it. I think it was like a 3-star book, like it was fine, but I didn't really love it. It might have actually been lower than 3 stars, I can't remember. I've heard really good things about this one though, for those who have read it already. I think this came out in January or February, so a pretty new release, and honestly, Sarah Adams books are just such good palette cleansers. Like, they are so quick, so easy, so fun to read. I really enjoy her writing and her romances, and they also have very little, if any, spice in them. Most of her books have no spice. I know she has started to include some spice in her books. I'm not sure whether this one has that or not. I know the first 2 in the series didn't, so perhaps this one doesn't as well. Okay, that is 2 books chosen, and you know, we're off to a pretty good start. I think let's do another blind pick now. Okay, another fantasy. That's upside down, I think. Is it good? Oh no, least rated on Goodreads. Okay, that's actually not too bad. I thought that said lowest rated, but it's the book that has the least amount of ratings on Goodreads. Now, in order to do this, I should have all of my books on my TBR on my want to read list. I definitely don't. So I'm just gonna have to go and add a few of these that I've purchased more recently to my TBR. and then I will be back and we will see what the lowest rated is. Okay, I'm pretty sure I now have most of them on there from my physical TBR anyway. I've definitely not added all of the ones I have on Kindle, but that's fine. We will just do this with my physical TBR. And we are gonna sort by number of ratings. And that's obviously the most ratings, so let's reverse the list. Emily Wilde, Compendium of Lost Tales. Okay, that is obviously because this is a new release, so I guess not that many people have read it yet. I'm pretty sure this came out just a couple of weeks ago, but that's okay for me. This is the third and final book in the Emily Wilde trilogy. And this is a gorgeous cover, so you need to see it. I really enjoyed this series. I think the first book was my favourite. I did still quite like the second book, and I'm excited to read this one. This is cozy fantasy with a really cute romance as a subplot. And yeah, cozy fantasy is not really my thing. Well, I just have not really read many cozy fantasies, but I do really enjoy this series. It's just a really sweet, wholesome feeling tap. I am happy with that, but so far we have not got any of my like long-standing TBR books, which is probably better for me as a reader because the less time the book's been on my TBR cart, the more I want to read it, but not good for my like TBR in general. So we have 3 books so far, 2 fantasy, 1 romance. Do I want a fiction? I don't know, because I did already read a fiction last month. I could do a thriller. Do I do a thriller? Let's do another blind pick because I don't really know what I want, and hopefully the jar will tell me what I should go for. What is it? Okay, is that green? Is that blue or green? No, it's green. So it's fantasy. Okay, we've got fantasy again. As I said, there are more fantasy in there than anything else. Published this year. Oh no, we're getting all of the new ones. Okay, published this year. In terms of my physical TBR, the only option I have now for published this year is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, and I don't even know if I have any on Kindle that are published this year. So if you can hear that, the heavens have just opened outside, like it is pissing it down. We do not have anything else, so it is going to be, oh wait, I can't choose this. It was a fantasy prompt and this is romance. Maybe I do published in the last year or like from the end of 2024, because otherwise I just don't think I can do this. So I have Neverkeep by the Twisted Sisters, that came out I think towards the end of last year. I also have, no, I think that's older actually. The Dagger and the Flame, that definitely came out 2024, so I could go for that. Apprentice to the Villain also came out 2024, so I could go for that. I think it's going to be between Apprentice to the Villain and The Dagger and the Flame. As I said, they did not come out this year, but they came out within the last year, and that's the best I can do for this prompt, considering that I have already chosen the only fantasy I have that has come out this year so far. I think I'm going to go for Apprentice to the Villain because I read Assistant to the Villain this month and I absolutely loved it, and I'm trying to read series not quite back to back but close together, so I think that this is a good pick rather than starting a new series, even though there's no next book out, but I just think it was better to go for this. As I said, I really enjoyed Assistant to the Villain. That was 4.5 stars for me, and I really didn't think it would be for me, but I loved it. It is kind of a rom-com version of a romantasy, but actually it's a lot more serious than I thought it was. Like, I just thought it was going to be a bit of a joke. But it's not, it's really good, and the tension and the romance was amazing, so yeah. Okay, Apprentice to the Villain is book number 4. Okay, I think I need another romance, so let's just maybe go for this one at the top. Okay, what do we have here? Is that upside down? Highest Goodreads rating. Wow, good job I've just added all of those to Goodreads. Okay, so we're looking for the romance book with the highest Goodreads rating. We're currently on publication year, and I'm going to go to average rating. Oh, and we want romance. Just for the Summer is the top one there, but I am supposed to be reading that with my book club, and I don't think that's gonna happen in March. It could do, but I'm not sure that it will. So I feel like I don't want to choose it just in case, because I am supposed to be reading that with book club. So I think we're gonna keep going. Oh no. Jane Eyre. This was on my TBR for February. I did not get to it. In my defense, the main reason I haven't got to this is because I've been looking in charity shops for like the Penguin paperback version of this, because I would rather read that than this, just because this is quite heavy. and also I don't want to ruin it, but I have not managed to find it. I may end up having to just buy it on Kindle and read it on Kindle. I definitely do need to read it. I need to stop putting it off. Okay, that is book 5 on my TBR. 2 romance, 3 fantasy, I think. Let's just do another blind pick. Like, it doesn't really matter to me at this point what genre I get. I think I would probably rather a fantasy. So actually, maybe if this isn't fantasy, I'll go again. Yeah, I don't think I want a romance, sorry. Ignore everything I just said. I'm picking a fantasy instead. Here we go, fantasy. Gold on the cover. That feels quite easy for a fantasy book. Okay, for this one, I'm torn between choosing Heat of the Everflame, which is a book I have on Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited. That is the 3rd book in the Kindred Curse saga, and it is the last one that's currently out. I think we're still waiting for news on when the 4th book is going to be published. I obviously have loads that I could choose, but the other one I'm thinking of is Gold by Raven Kennedy. This is book 5 in the Pleasure Prisoner series, and this is the 2nd last book. I do really want to finish this series, but I really struggled with the last book, and I just don't really feel the desire to read this. But I've read the first 4 books and I only have 2 to go, so like part of me just really wants to finish it. I just don't know if I care about this series anymore. If you have read this series, please tell me if it's worth carrying on and reading the last 2 books, or do I just DNF the series? Which feels like a shame, because I really enjoyed the first 3 books. The first 2 especially, it kind of went a bit downhill in the 3rd book, and then the 4th book went way downhill. Should I carry on with the series, or should I just DNF it? It's annoying because I have this book and I've not read it, and maybe I should at least try to read it. But I just don't feel any desire to read it, and there are so many books and series that I really am desperate to read. So yeah, let me know. So I think with that said, I'm gonna put Heat of the Everflame. It is Heat, right? The 3rd book, yeah. Heat of the Everflame by Pinnacle as my 6th book on my TBR. Okay, so there we have it. We have picked out my March TBR. If I just look at the physical books with my Kindle, it's actually a very aesthetic looking stack. Like, we have lots of like pinks and pastels, and I just feel like it looks cute together. And then obviously my Kindle also kind of matches the vibe, basically pink and blue vibe. So we love that. Okay, so the books that we have, the 2 that we have on Kindle are Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Rorick and Heat of the Everflame by Pinnacle. Those are both romantasy books. And then we have Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Meredith, the 2nd book to Assistant to the Villain. I think this is going to be a trilogy, so I think there's a 3rd book coming out, but it's not out yet. Then we have Beg, Borrow or Steal by Sarah Adams. This is the 3rd book in the When in Rome series, a romance series of companion novels, I guess. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, a romance classic. And then we have Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I feel like I have done well to stick to only 6 books, but I really want to do well on my TBR. Like, I really do want to prioritise those books. I do also have some arcs I need to read in March, and also just some new releases that I will want to read, and I'll have to pick up some other books as called for in reading vlogs, so I feel like maybe it will be a good idea to keep my actual set TBR a little bit smaller this month. March is actually my birthday month as well, and it's quite a big birthday for me this year. I'm not sure if I want to say exactly how old I'll be turning, but yeah, it's quite a big birthday, and I will be celebrating with people, seeing people, etc. So it might be quite a busy month. So yeah, I feel like it's good to keep my TBR a little bit smaller in March. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave a comment, like and subscribe. I would love to see you in my next video. Bye!